what are some tips you'd give to a person wanting to get into marathons, all while staying strong and making consistent gains?
So the main thing would be figure out what your actual low intensity is. And I think there's such a push, especially the idea of being able to go slow before you can go fast. And the idea of doing most of your work at a sustainable rate is something that's really, really difficult, I think, for a lot of guys to understand, especially if you weigh, 140 kilos, and, like some of these football players I've worked with do. And you say, okay, let's start easy. Let's go for an easy run. And they go out for a jog and their heart rate is up to, 170. And they're absolutely destroying themselves. They do that twice a week. They're absolutely annihilated. So one of the things I tell, especially a lot of bigger and stronger guys, is find what low intensity means to you. Find a level of intensity, even if it's not running. In a lot of cases, with guys who really want to maintain their strength, they need to spend a lot of time of their training, a lot of their cardiovascular training, doing modalities other than running so they can keep that intensity down. Basically get yourself, do a lot of your conditioning relatively easy on like an air bike or even an elliptical or something else. Figure out that low intensity work. Don't think that you need to keep pushing yourself harder and harder and harder because you're going to burn out real fast. And that's going to start impacting your lifting, because the biggest loss, the biggest thing that stops people from that causes people to lose their strength, it's not the cardio killing their gains. It's the high intensity work that they're doing, this cardiovascular training at, that has them so fatigued that they can't put in the level of intensity in the weight room. That's when they start to really, really suffer in terms of their strength. They go in there, they work up, they're exhausted. They've been going out way too hard on the endurance side of things. So when they get into the weight room, they're not pushing the weights they weigh. They're not lifting with the level of intensity. They're not doing the volume that they could. That's what starts to hurt them.
So it's the strength that gets dropped over time as opposed to that one particular. Yeah, so it's that one particular session leads to more and more fatigue, and over time that strength is just going like you're not you lifting the same 4-week period of weights as you were the previous 4, and then therefore strength doesn't need to be as high.
Yep, they start missing the top sets or skipping the top sets or skipping some of the drop down work. Tempo, range of motion, all those other things just start to suffer because of that accumulating fatigue. And it's all because in 90% of cases when I've worked with guys who actually lose strength, it's because most of their cardiovascular training was at too high intensity.
Yeah.
I tell them, slow down, be able to go easy before you go hard.
Do you get a lot of pushback with that? Because I imagine rugby athletes are one thing, but the people that you work with are another thing. And we were talking about it before we started recording it, about how being tough and pushing through pain is something that you're told that you have to deal with, right?
One of the things I've found that actually really, really works is for a lot of these guys, I'll set targets like on the air bike. Cap your heart rate at 130. What is the maximum number of calories you can burn in an hour without letting your heart rate go over 130?
Nice.
Same thing with a run. Basically, capping your heart rate at 140. What is the furthest you can walk or run on your feet, keeping your heart rate under that number? And that has been a really good strategy because it sets an actual tangible target. It sets a threshold. It's okay, I'm just out here running. In a lot of cases, people have to think, okay, how can I be more efficient? How can I work on my breathing? How can I do this? How can I do that? It gives them a goal in their mind that's actually like if you go over it, you lose. You're dealing with people who don't like failing at things. So you're not just saying, you're saying, here's your goal. You're trying to do as much work as possible at this level of intensity. And I've found that actually they get really, really good really fast. They become very good runners, very good walkers, very good cycle, all very, very quickly with that in mind, because they learn how to be efficient. They learn how to breathe. They learn how to relax. They learn even the mental strategies that they need to keep that intensity down, which is all very, very critical in having that reserve of intensity there for when they actually go back into the weight room.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been trying to use a strategy using Charlie Francis style tempo runs and tempo work. So trying to keep them in that aerobic zone. I say, right, when you're doing these movements or you're doing these runs, you're trying to do a rep max of perfect form. You're not being judged on how hard you're doing. You're trying to be judged on how perfect well you move. And then ideally rep 1 looks exactly the same as your very last rep. But sometimes
Exactly.
now I'm thinking there's some sort of challenge that's got to be in that as well, like how make it, because again I think it's also weird when you do a lot of zone 2 work that it's you're working the heart, but the body doesn't feel overly exhausted when you finish, and people love to try and feel overly exhausted. It's also why they end up trying to do like a sprint finish or something like that. And is that even more negative than like just actually going hard in the first place?
Yeah, it's funny because there's that whole thing. Well, I've been going slowly this entire run. I just did an hour easy. I can push it for the last minute or two, and in the short term that's tolerable. It's not a huge deal, but over time, eventually, it becomes, well, how hard can I push in that last minute? How fast can I sprint in? It becomes its own thing, and it's just this kind of run. I mean,
Yeah.
you know how I look. The mindset. Got to be better every single time, and that's why you break that habit early and just be like, look, you're supposed to feel good when this is done. You're not supposed to feel absolutely shattered.